Hi, everyone. Welcome to the workshop portion of our Business Resource Committee. Our topic for today is mentoring internally and externally in the community. We come up with these topics based on surveys that we do at the end of every year. And this was one that quite a few members requested. So we don't always have the exact details of what the people maybe had in mind. So we try to kind of curate the right amount of speakers and content to cover, pretty much anyone's interest. So we're looking forward to a lively discussion today around the following topics: definition of mentoring and related roles, how to get started mentoring or being mentored, successes and challenges with mentoring, the future of mentoring, and different types of programs, such as formal versus organic. So I am going to introduce our moderator, and then our moderator will introduce our panelists. So welcome, moderator, Janie Jackson. We're so glad to have you leading our lively discussion. Janie is the founder and CEO of Develop Your Team, where she is thrilled to work with individuals and teams to help them grow and excel. Janie has a master's degree in adult education and training and an extensive background in corporate training and development. Her customized programs combine fun with purpose to develop highly engaged and effective top performing teams. And if anyone has been in one of Jannie's trainings, that is spot on, that the engagement is always amazing, and we always get so much out of her trainings and are so happy to have her leading our discussion today. So welcome,
Thank
Janie.
you, Nyla. Thank you, Nyla.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I am very excited to introduce our panelists today. So I'm going to read their bios. So we have 4 panelists, and I'm so excited. John Beethan is president, producer of Imagine Podcasting, DBA Heard Not Seen Media. Since 2004, John has used his many years of audio engineering and podcasting experience to help his clients with audio storytelling when they have something of value to say. John has produced hundreds of podcasts with an emphasis on and a passion for elevating women's voices. He can be heard on What Has My Attention, the podcast, in a series titled Women in Strong Leadership. Theresa Ivanovich is the founder and chief leadership officer of Easy Life Management, Inc. She is a business coach, an enrolled agent, and earned an MBA from San Diego State University. Rachel is following her lifelong dream of helping fellow entrepreneurs develop their vision, grow their businesses, and live their full potential. Rachel shares her personal experience of how mentors have helped support her in business and life. Samantha Richter is the Chief Operations Officer of the Agua de Onda Lagoon Foundation Discovery Center. Samantha has been with the Agua de Onda Lagoon Foundation since September of 2013, graduating from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, earlier in 2013 with a BS degree in biology and marine science. Our mission at the Discovery Center is to energize our community through education and outreach to preserve the Agua de Onda Lagoon as an accessible and healthy watershed. Our vision is to be stewards of the watershed as we inspire future generations so we all have access to a healthy lagoon, a safe space in nature for all. And Tracy Spondenberg is the founder owner of TJS Consulting. After years as an executive, leading large operations teams and amazing people, she realized that she derives true joy from supporting leaders to become the best version of themselves. She has combined her innate ability to plan and execute with that of being able to understand people's true talents to create two products: finding your genius and harvesting the collective genius. TJS Consulting has been created to support coaches, both individual and business, with tools to unlock their clients' full potential, both personally and professionally. Wow, welcome all of you. So to start, I've read your bios, but now I would ask that you take a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, to just introduce yourselves and give us some information about your background and experiences with mentoring, essentially like why you're here today. And we're going to go in the reverse order of how I read your bios. So Tracy, would you please go first?
Well, thank you, Jenny, and thank you everybody for allowing me to be on this panel. It's a true honor and privilege. I just wanted to say thank you. My background is in pharmacy. I graduated from University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa with a pharmacy degree, and was very blessed and fortunate to be offered a position in San Diego by Save-On drugstores. I'm sure you remember Save-On drugstores. And as a pharmacist, coming out from a foreign country, I needed to navigate some challenges of making sure that I was able to practice in California, and just had an amazing career with Save-On drugstores and Save-On pharmacies, and then eventually moved over into OptumRx, which is a part of or division of United Health Group. OptumRx is the mail order pharmacy division. And if you have United Health Insurance, you likely have OptumRx as your mail order pharmacy as a choice. It's the third largest mail order in the country. And I was very blessed to be Vice President of Operations for that organization. Interesting, pharmacy is often you picture a pharmacist as in a white coat behind a counter counting tablets. It's interesting to probably learn behind the curtain that operating a pharmacy or being a regional leader or vice president of a pharmacy operations has very much the same and similar challenges as running any operation or business. You're working with professionals who have the same struggles, deal with the same challenges of making sure that we're executing on the initiatives, making sure that we're developing people to the best version of themselves, even if they have a predefined profession like pharmacy. So mentoring for me really evolved as I evolved as a leader. When I was a leader for the operations, regional leader for pharmacy operations for Save-On drugstores, just picture the corner CVS drugstore. You have a small pharmacy team, and I'm sure you've all experienced that, where you've got a group of individuals who are doing their best to service the patients that are coming in, to get their prescriptions ready. Often very challenging environment. You've got people who are impatient to get their products out. They're dealing with insurances. They're dealing with a lot of variety of things coming at them. And many went to pharmacy school because they loved serving people. They weren't necessarily good at handling a multitude of stimuli coming at them from a different directions. And handling insurance problems was certainly not something that you struggle with or learn in pharmacy school. So mentoring in that environment really meant helping individuals who were specifically trained in a profession to be the experts on medication, to be the experts in drug interactions and the experts on health outcomes. and really mentor them in the other aspects of being in a retail environment, of leading small teams of people, certainly not something that you're taught in pharmacy school, of handling very adversary human interactions with patients who are upset that their drug's not covered, that they don't have the money to pay for the drug, that their child or their husband or their wife can't receive the care that they need. Those are certainly interactions that you're never trained for when you're going through pharmacy school. So mentoring in that environment is really about building the people to be outside of their normal scope. Sorry, I went way too long, Jenny. Thank you for putting your hand up.
Thank you, Tracy. All right. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. Samantha.
Yes, can you guys hear me okay?
Up. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So as Janie mentioned a little bit, I've been in my role at Agua Hedionda, or not this specific role, I've been in many roles at Agua Hedionda over my 9 years. It's been my only job after college, so I feel like I've gotten a little bit of everything, as many of you know, and we have Janie, who is our vice chair, and Rachel, who is our chair, so I'm lucky to be mentored by these two ladies as well. At a nonprofit, you wear many hats in terms of mentoring experience. I have gone through California State University's Leadership North County. I just graduated in June, which was a great leadership experience, had some mentoring components woven throughout, as well as University of San Diego, California's nonprofit leadership. I wouldn't say mentoring was much of an aspect there. It was definitely more the nonprofit side, but had leadership aspects. And from those two experiences, I would say mentoring and mentorship and the formality of it, probably as Tracy mentioned a little bit, is lacking. There's a big focus on building leaders, but there's not necessarily in those two experiences, I would say, on how to get there. It's a lot of information. So I feel there's a need for this. So I appreciate you guys putting this together. The other thing I would mention is here at the Lagoon, there's a lot of different opportunities and experiences that I've had with mentoring. We have students that come through that are our next environmental scientists, our next biologists, our next conservationists, and we are mentoring them to be the stewards of the environment. So we have a unique opportunity here in my position to, even though I'm not a teacher, to teach these young minds and mentor them. At nonprofit, we all have employees, so I have managed quite a few employees and trying to mentor them to be the next level here and reach a higher dynamic and involve them in all aspects of the nonprofit. And then I have had the unique opportunity, I would say, to be mentored by my CEO, Lisa Rodman, who I'm sure if she could be on this, she would instead of me, but she is on vacation. And so I've had 9 years of direct mentorship, who many of you know her. She was just named Citizen of the Year for Carlsbad. So hopefully that summed up what you were looking for.
Wonderful. Thank you, Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, why are you here?
I was going to say, Lisa is a powerhouse as a mentor. Whoa.
Yes.
So I echo the sentiments of the other panelists. I'm honored to be here. So thank you for having me. So I started my business in 2006. So it's been a couple of years. When I started my business, I really had no idea how to run a business or what I was doing. I knew how to do tax returns, and that was about it. So I have relied very heavily on mentors, growing my business, and have been in the mentee relationship as well as now the mentor relationship. And I want to say that mentors can be from your same industry and different industries. So you don't have to just look for someone within your same industry or same profession. When I did start out, I started with professional organizations looking for a mentor for myself and looked for another tax advisor who'd gone before me, who could really show me the ropes so that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And now the tables really have turned, and I am now mentoring younger, not necessarily by age, but in business, tax advisors and other business owners. So it's been a wonderful experience both to be mentored and to help others grow. I also am heavily involved with the Girl Scouts of San Diego and Rotary avid students. Really love to speak into the lives of younger individuals and help them with, just sharing my experiences. And that's really, I think, what mentorship is sharing and being vulnerable and transparent and open and being willing to give of yourself. And when you're being mentored, to be able to receive that benefit and be willing and open to learn. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rachel. And John.
Thank you very much. Hopefully the fan's not too distracting. I'm gonna, for 2 or 3 minutes is what I have. I kind of like to take it from 2 different perspectives. One of being mentored and the other mentoring. So at the age of 25, I was studying music at Portland State University in Portland, Oregon, and great childhood and all the rest of it. And then at some point I met somebody that completely changed my life. And I ended up going to Orcas Island off the coast of Seattle and living in a country inn that was owned by the Lewis Foundation. It was a nonprofit. And I became a volunteer for 7 years, and it was full time, 6 in the morning till midnight. Long story I will not go into on this call, but what had happened is we had a country inn, and it was a means of support for the work that the foundation did. So we used to host people like, I don't know if you know Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She wrote The 5 Stages of Death and Dying. So we used to present people like that, but we ran this country inn. I knew my mother, I should say, was a fabulous cook, but she never taught me. So I started out there washing dishes and studying. And in the afternoons, the study program was really studying world religion, nutrition, and metaphysics. Well, over a period of time, we started writing books as well. And we needed a computer. So the general manager at that time, the general manager's name was Star Farish, somehow put together and purchased a computer for like $10,000. That's what they were back then. And he had somebody write some software to manage the books in terms of the publishing of the books and invoicing and things like that. So through that 7 years, I started out as a dishwasher and ended up being the innkeeper. It was a path and a trajectory that took me from knowing nothing at the age of 25, in essence, to developing a lot of different skills, which obviously ended up me actually creating a career for myself. I went on to, and I actually learned to cook really well and really loved it. But I ended up moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was writing software for companies. I wrote the second publishing software for the industry, and went on to put together a team of people that wrote the first software management system for uniform commercial code, which Rachel may know what that is, but that's Secretary of State stuff. And then I ended up coming to Carlsbad, a much longer story. But it was this mentoring process that I did through Star Farish. And Star Farish was very successful at a young age, made his first $1 million at the age of 27 in real estate. But he was running the country inn because of the foundation, and he was a volunteer as well. But it was that one-on-one, let me show you and walk the path with you, that allowed me to essentially be who I am today. And then when I started Imagine Podcasting in the middle of a pandemic in July of 2020, I hired a young woman, Rajan No. And Rajan came through a referral. She was 23 years old and as a writer, extremely gifted. She was just, the words just came to life on the page. And we had meetings weekly. And at some point she started asking me for help. And she started asking me for my perspective on this and my perspective on that. So I took it very seriously that this is a person that, is asking, I didn't use the word mentoring at the time, but it was someone that I became responsible for in terms of helping this young woman actually. And she left the company at some point to take on a full-time job at a company. She was only working part-time for me. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about it, taking
All
it
right.
from two different perspectives. And at some point I would like to actually talk about, because I don't really think I know, but the definition between what's the difference between a coach, a consultant, and a mentor.
Well, that is our next question that I want to ask of the panel. So actually, I'm going to ask if anybody wants to volunteer to answer that. Just personally, how would you define mentor and the difference between the different roles? Anyone want to take that on?
Well, I'll give it a stab because I
Thank you.
think it is, I think you can be more than one, depending on what your role is. So, for me, a coach is somebody who is either in a formal relationship where you're paying an individual to coach you, or it's somebody who is in your life that is in a position to help you stay on a pathway to meet your goals. And it's sort of that either gentle or not so gentle sometimes, nudging to make sure you're moving forward. Can the coach be a mentor? Absolutely. And I think that's, part of where it gets confusing. And then a consultant, to me, having that role now as a consultant, where I was always a operations leader, I find very interesting and different. To me, a consultant is somebody who you come to help set a roadmap or help you get clarity in the midst of what it is that you want to accomplish and set some goals. They could or could not be your coach and or mentor. You could be all three, but often that's that slightly different relationship that lacks necessarily the intimacy that you have with mentoring. And I think mentoring is really, the center of it is trust. And I realize it has experience as well, whereas the center of coaching is more experience. And even consulting is also experience and trust. But to me, for mentoring, it's that trust factor that's the differentiator.
Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. So Rachel or Samantha, would either of you like to share how you think of those roles and the differences?
Yeah, I would echo Tracy pretty much exactly what she said. Off the top of my head, when I thought about it, I think coach and consultant seem to be more intertwined than mentor. I also think coach and consultant typically, not all the time, have a time period. It's for a goal, it's for something that a strategic plan, something that needs to get done, where in my mind, a mentor is with you more long-term and more on that personal side. Trust, as Tracy mentioned, I think is the core of that. Coaching has so many different terms, right? You have sports coaches, you have coaches that you bring in for business, you have coaches in, life. But that mentor, it's, in my opinion, it's more personable, it's long-term, it's all aspects of life. It might not just be your business that you're doing. You're learning so many different avenues from that mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to just to tag on to that, I think, coach more macro, consultant more micro, maybe it's one industry and they're specific in that. Coaches, the difference for me with coaches and mentors is I'm echoing exactly what Samantha and Tracy said. But also the accountability piece is with the coach, goal setting and, working towards specific targets and then checking in and making sure that you're actually doing, and the coach will hold your feet to the fire, whereas the mentor may just walk with you, and you can learn together with them.
Wonderful, thank you. So
Can
I
I
did
add-
say
can
that
I
I
add
was
one
not going to
thing?
have, I did say that I was not going to have everyone answer every question, but I would like to hear, John, your thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I have to take it from my experience. So I echo Tracy, Samantha, and Rachel. I mean, unbelievable. There's an echo in the room, right? So, but in my own experience, working with being the mentee, mentored by Star Farish, I think the number one thing I walked away from, and I would agree that it was very personal and it was very intimate, is that there was two things. There was a period where, honestly, I would not admit I was wrong. And this was a gentleman that, if you know anything about astrology, it was a triple Aries, which meant he hammered me very hard, not physically, but he just broke me on that particular character flaw. So that was one part of it. The other part is that I learned from him is that there were times when I would go, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And he would also say, you have no idea what you're capable of. So I don't know if that comes from a coach, a consultant, or a mentor, but it just felt, or it feels to me like that still rings with me. It's something that is with me. And I remind myself of it often. And at times I remind myself of others, or I remind others of the same thing. So it's this idea that a mentor might take like I think Samantha said, take a personal interest in taking you way beyond what your head, what your thoughts, what you think you can do or could do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how much those different roles are interwoven, and how it's not a fine line, and you can be many of those things at the same time. But it's really valuable, I think, to think about those nuances. So the next thing I want to know, and I'm going to start with you, Rachel, is, okay, so I like to start mentoring or even being mentored. Where do I start?
So in terms of being mentored, I think going out into your community and professional organizations is probably, and it depends on what your goals are for the mentorship, for the relationship. If you're looking for your business and for systems and how to quote unquote move to whatever the next level in your business is, professional organizations, Chamber of Commerce, really looking for someone who has been in the business longer than you is the place to go. At least it was for me. Continuing education, there will always be someone there that you can connect with. So that's how I've established my relationships. In terms of mentoring others, typically I find just being out and showing up for different events, people do come and find you and they will reach out to you. I think it's just being open and willing to receive that ask is really important.
Wonderful, thank you. And Tracy, how would you answer that question? How to get started?
Yeah, thank you. And I was thinking about the internal and external mentoring. Internal mentoring over the years, having worked for very large organizations, I've experienced both the formal mentoring programs, that organizations institute. And I think those are fantastic for individuals wanting to meet specific professional goals. I found those experiences a little bit more, both having had a mentor and mentoring, a little bit more like coaching. It felt a little bit more like coaching because there wasn't that chemistry necessarily. It was more mentoring with a purpose. And then there was also in their organization, the organic mentoring that occurred. And they were just individuals that you had an immediate connection for, whether they were a leader that you just absolutely aspired to emulate, or just interestingly enough, one of the most powerful mentoring mentee relationships that I've had over the years was with an individual that was in India. We needed to establish offshore operations in India. And I was conducting virtual interviews, along with the leadership over there in Hyderabad. And there was just this one gal that, I just knew immediately she was going to be fantastic. And we brought her on as a senior leader for the India operations. And she and I are connected to this day. She lives in Canada now, in Toronto, but it's that reciprocalness of a mentee-mentor relationship. There's been times where there's been a switch, where I've been going through different things that her experience and her perspectives have been invaluable too. So that internal mentoring, from an organization, I think some organic, some formal, they all have their role. And I think you look for those chemistry connections if you can. So slightly different take from Rachel's on more of an organizational mentoring. And then personally, externally, I play volleyball every Saturday with a group of individuals, and they're from all age groups, 20 all the way up. And, I'm in the more senior category. And it's interesting. We will have people come up to my husband and I to let them know that we're an example of a married couple, that they would like to emulate that fun and activities and the persona that we have. And so I just bring it up because I think we're all mentoring all the time and we don't even realize it. And we have a responsibility for our interactions with each other to keep that in the back of our mind, because people are watching, irrespective of where you are and what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, that is really interesting, right? We're role models without recognizing it. And I really appreciate what you brought up about chemistry and how valuable that is for, a relationship, a mentoring relationship to work. The next question that I would like to bring up, and Samantha, I'm going to ask you first. I know you've only got a couple more minutes with us. And besides, I think you're going to be perfect to answer this. So what I'd like you to talk about for a minute is what's been successful for you in your mentoring relationships, and also maybe even where you've found obstacles and how you've overcome them.
Yeah, I think what's been successful, and I say this a lot in my life, is saying yes to anything and going outside of your comfort zone. When I started this position 9 years ago, I started as a volunteer here. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, as most recent college grads do, right? There's not a clear pathway. And maybe if I had a better mentor in college, that would have been different, right? We can all kind of go back and think about that. I had a few, not to say I didn't, but so the successes: say yes, go out of your comfort zone. It might not be something planned. It might be not be something you want to do, but that's how you learn. That's how you gain experience. And then that's also how you can say, ooh, maybe I don't want to go that path and I want to go this path, but you really won't know until you try. Mm-hmm. Challenges, I think John said it well earlier. We as humans, especially if you've been in a position a while and it's doing well, or you think you're doing great, it's hard to say change, or it's hard to accept, like, oh, maybe we could be doing this better if we've done this, this, and this. And you're like, well, why would I ever do that? This is working for me. Why would I need to go outside of the grain and do something different? But so I guess personally, and I think we probably can all relate, it's hard, or a challenge is going a different pathway or trying something different when you're so confident and don't want to change. But it's also goes back to saying yes and learning that it really makes you go farther. And I think my other personal challenge in terms of mentoring, I like to do the tasks that I'm really good at first. I think a lot of people do, right? Where my mentor has said, you need to do the challenging ones first. I'm like, I want to cross them off. I want to get them done. I want to move on with my day. I'll save those ones until I have time. I want to think about them, but it's good to do it reverse as well. So
Yeah.
that would be my quick 2 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. And I would say we have maybe about 3 minutes more altogether. So does somebody else want to talk about successes and challenges?
The only other thing I'd mention is along what Samantha just said is, a lot of this with yourself and with other people is truly about being brave and being able to say the hard things and to have the hard conversations.
Yeah, thank you. I want to open this up to our, everybody who's joined us for this meeting. What questions do you have for our panelists for our next few minutes? I'm giving you space to formulate your thoughts.
I have one.
Yes.
I just recently saw a documentary on Randy Rhodes. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was the lead guitarist, started Quiet Riot, and then went to Ozzy Osbourne's band. He was being taught by a teacher for guitar. And at some point this was at his mother's music store. And at some point, the teacher that was teaching Randy Rhodes said, I can't teach him anymore. He's teaching me. So at what point do you realize that, hey, this student that I'm teaching or mentoring is now above what I can do? And what do you do at that point?
I'll take a stab at it. I had that situation when I was in a regional leader for Save-On drugstores. There was this young gal that started, and she was a pharmacy manager, and then she sort of became a trainer in the department there. But you could just tell immediately that she had something special. We had a great connection, and I felt like I was mentoring her and showing her the ropes, but she was a very, very quick learner. And then it soon became clear that she was up and running and ready to go. I think that's where the relationship flips a little bit, and that you can actually learn from your mentee often more than you realized. And if you're open enough and have courage enough to accept that, it can be an amazing relationship for the go forward.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tracy. And thank you, Tom, for your question. Who else might have a question for our panel? Don.
Not exactly a question, but just an experience I had. So when I came out of engineering school, I went to work at, this huge aerospace company. And my manager told me, he said, go find a mentor. He said, everybody wants to tell you how much they know. And he goes, nobody will turn you down. So go find some. And so I was responsible for designing circuits, and there was a elderly guy who was a technician who did not have his engineering degree. And I designed my first circuit, and it wasn't working, and he was a technician, and I just said, can you help me? And he said, most engineers won't ask me because I don't have a degree, but I know exactly what's wrong with your circuit. And, and he kind of became my mentor, it was kind of like, and he basically acknowledged my humility to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. So that was great.
That's awesome. Thank you. And that's an example of how these things sometimes happen organically, right?
Mm.
It's that conversation that you have with somebody. I am going to just take this opportunity to thank our panelists, thank everyone who showed up today. If anybody on the panel, if you have a final word that you want to share in our last couple of minutes, love to hear it.
Well, sorry, I'll go first, but I think it takes a little bit of courage to initiate that mentor-mentee relationship, even if you're the one that wants to mentor or be mentored. And my experience has been, don't hold yourself back. People are never too busy, and we are humanly designed to work together and help each other. Just have that courage to reach and ask out. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Thank you. And I see Miguel has raised his hand. So Miguel.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you. I just wanted to make some couple of quick observations and comments. I put in chat. We work very actively. We have a very effective coaching program with our students. So there are plenty of students to coach, mentor here through the university if you are so interested, so inclined, and have the spare time to do that. So I want to make that comment. I will also make an observation. Brett, as well as Rachel, do it because coaching our students requires a minimum of a commitment in a semester of 40 hours in a semester. It's a very structured program of what coaching is. There are some clear definitions of coaching, mentoring, and consulting that usually are wrapped around who's hiring you and how much money they've got in the budget. So consultants get paid more because they are expected to deliver more. Coaches don't have to be subject matter experts. I'm just giving you some high-level distinctions, and I just wanted to share those elements. We are always at the university looking for coaches, mentors for our mentees. So if anyone is interested in further information on that, feel free to reach out to me. We have great students who are looking for some great mentorship opportunities. I just mentored a young man who just graduated and just got a job offer from Viasat. More than minimum wage, more than entry level, which is a little stunning, all things considered. But he was coached by faculty and other people to help guide that. So I welcome the opportunity to speak with any of you if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We have like 30 seconds. John or Rachel, if you have any final words.
Thank you for having me. And like Trace said, be brave, just go out there. The mentors are there.
I'd say thank you too. I really appreciate this. And yes, be brave. Love it.
All right. Thank you so much.